Active versus passive investing, fee difference of $89,000. If you're over 60 and have worked hard to build your retirement nest egg, you need to hear this. The average retiree with $500,000 in savings could lose as much as $89,000 just in investment fees over a typical retirement simply by choosing the wrong investing approach. Let me repeat that. $89,000 of your money quietly lost to fees most people never even notice. In my 3 decades of guiding seniors through successful retirement transitions, I've seen this overlooked mistake devastate even the most careful investors. The difference between active and passive investing isn't just about strategy, it's about protecting your family's legacy and ensuring your money lasts as long as you do. The longer you wait to address this, the more you could lose every single year. I've analyzed thousands of retirement plans, and the wealthiest, most secure retirees all share one thing in common. They know exactly how to minimize fees and maximize growth. This is educational content designed to help you make informed financial decisions. Always consult a qualified financial advisor for your specific situation, and remember, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Today, I'll show you the real numbers behind active versus passive investing and how a simple shift could save you tens of thousands, money that stays in your pocket, not your advisor's. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to avoid the $89,000 mistake and keep more of your hard-earned wealth. But first, let me share the most common misconception that costs retirees a fortune. Pay close attention because what I'm about to reveal could change everything about how you invest in retirement. Part 1. The hidden cost. Lurking in your retirement investments. Let's start with a reality check that every retiree, especially those of you with substantial savings, needs to hear. If you're like most Americans over 60, you've spent decades working, saving, and making sacrifices to build up your retirement nest egg. You might have $500,000, $750,000, or even more tucked away in your 401k, IRAs, or brokerage accounts. You've done everything right, at least that's what you've been told, but there's a silent threat eating away at your savings year after year, and most retirees don't even realize it's there until it's far too late. I'm talking about the cost of investment fees, specifically the difference between active and passive investing fees. Now, I know fees might sound like a small detail, but let me assure you, after 30-plus years of helping seniors like you navigate the complexities of retirement, I've seen firsthand how these costs can quietly drain tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars from your portfolio. Let me give you a clear, concrete example. According to the latest Investment Company Institute data, the average actively managed mutual fund charges an annual fee of about 0.59%. In contrast, the average passively managed index fund charges just 0.05%. On a $500,000 portfolio, that's a difference of $2,700 every single year. Now, you might be thinking, $3,000 isn't going to break me. But let's dig deeper, because the real cost isn't just the yearly fee. It's the compounding effect over time. If you stay invested for 20 years in retirement, and many of you will, given increasing lifespans and better health care, those higher fees don't just add up, they multiply. Over 2 decades, the difference between active and passive fees on a $500,000 portfolio can exceed $89,000. Let me repeat that. $89,000 lost, not to market downturns, not to poor investment choices, but simply to fees. Money that could have paid for a new car, a family vacation, or even helped a grandchild with college. Instead, it quietly lines the pockets of fund managers and investment firms. And here's the part that's even more troubling. Recent studies from Morningstar show that after fees, most actively managed funds do not outperform their passive counterparts over the long haul. In fact, About 71% of active funds fail to beat the market over a 10-year period, according to S&P Dow Jones indices. So not only are you paying more, but you're usually getting less. This is a critical point for retirees because every dollar you lose to fees is a dollar you can't use for healthcare, travel, or leaving a legacy for your loved ones. Now, let's put this in perspective. For many seniors, the difference between active and passive investing could mean the ability to cover an extra 5 years of Medicare premiums or to fund long-term care costs that can easily run $50,000 a year or more. In my experience, the wealthiest and most financially secure retirees are not the ones chasing the hottest stocks or the latest investment trends. They're the ones who understand the power of minimizing costs and maximizing efficiency. They know that every percentage point matters, especially when you're living on a fixed income. But why is this problem so urgent now after age 60? Because the window to recover from big financial mistakes shrinks dramatically in retirement. When you're in your 30s or 40s, you have decades to bounce back from a bad investment or a period of high fees. But after 60, every dollar counts, and every year you delay making a change costs you more than you might realize. For example, if you wait just 5 years to switch from high-fee active funds to low-cost passive funds, you could lose out on $20,000 or more in savings, money that could have helped you weather a market downturn or pay for an unexpected medical bill. And here's another reality. Most retirees simply don't know what they're paying in fees. A 2022 AARP survey found that over 60% of Americans over 60 could not accurately state the fees they pay on their investments. That's not your fault. The financial industry often buries these costs in fine print, using confusing jargon and complex statements that are hard for anyone to decipher. But just because it's hidden doesn't mean it's harmless. In fact, it's often the silent killers, the fees you don't see, that do the most damage to your long-term financial health. Let me share a story from my own practice. A few years ago, I worked with a couple in their early 70s who had always prided themselves on being careful savers. They had about $800,000 invested, mostly in actively managed mutual funds recommended by their previous advisor. When we sat down and reviewed their statements, we discovered they were paying over $7,000 a year in fees, money that could have been working for them, not against them. When we switched them to a diversified portfolio of low-cost index funds, we cut their annual fees to under $1,000. Over the next 10 years, that one change alone could save them more than $60,000, money they could use for travel, gifts to their grandchildren, or just peace of mind. This isn't an isolated case. In my 30-plus years of helping retirees, I've seen thousands of seniors make this same mistake, often because they trusted that their advisor had their best interests at heart, or because they simply didn't know what questions to ask. The truth is, the financial industry makes billions every year off the fees paid by hardworking Americans like you. And unless you take action, you could be handing over a significant portion of your retirement savings without even realizing it. Now, I want to be absolutely clear. This is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Every person's situation is different, and you should always consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any changes to your investment strategy. But the facts are undeniable. The difference between active and passive investing fees is real, it's significant, and it can have a profound impact on your retirement security. So far, we've covered the scope of the problem, the hidden fees that can quietly erode your retirement savings, the shocking statistics that show just how much is at stake, and the urgent need to take control after age 60. If you're feeling concerned, you're not alone. The good news is, this is a problem you can solve if you know what to look for and how to act. But here's what most financial advisors won't tell you. The solution to this problem is much simpler and more powerful than you might think. In fact, just a few small changes to your investment approach can help you keep tens of thousands of dollars in your pocket, not your advisor's. The solution is simpler than you think, but most people get it wrong. Part 2. The core solution: how smart fee management can secure your retirement. Now that we've uncovered the hidden cost quietly draining your retirement savings, let's talk about the core solution, a strategy that not only protects your nest egg, but also brings peace of mind for the years ahead. In my 30-plus years of guiding retirees through the financial maze of retirement, I found that the most effective, reliable way to keep more of your hard-earned money is by embracing a low-cost, passive investing approach. This isn't just financial theory, it's a proven, conservative strategy that's helped thousands of seniors just like you enjoy a safer, more predictable retirement. So, what exactly do I mean by passive investing? In simple terms, passive investing means putting your money into broadly diversified index funds or exchange-traded funds, ETFs, that track the overall market, like the S&P 500 or a total bond market index. These funds don't try to outsmart the market by picking individual stocks or timing when to buy or sell. Instead, they follow the market's natural growth, keeping costs incredibly low in the process. Historically, this approach has delivered competitive returns with far less risk and drama than chasing hot stocks or jumping in and out of funds. More importantly, passive funds typically charge a fraction of the fees that active managers do, sometimes as little as 0.03% to 0.1% per year, compared to 0.59% or more for actively managed funds. Now, why does this work so well for retirees, especially those of you over 60? First, let's acknowledge that at this stage of life, preserving your principal and generating reliable income is far more important than taking unnecessary risks. You want stability, predictability, and the confidence that your money will last as long as you do. Passive investing delivers exactly that. By minimizing fees and avoiding the temptation to beat the market, you're able to keep more of your returns, reduce the impact of market swings, and maintain a simple, transparent investment plan that's easy to monitor and adjust as needed. Let me share a couple of real-world success stories from my own practice, stories that highlight just how powerful this approach can be. Several years ago, I met a retired engineer who had accumulated a $600,000 nest egg by the time he turned 65. Like many of you, he'd worked hard, saved diligently, and relied on advice from a traditional broker who kept him in a mix of actively managed funds. When we sat down to review his statements, we discovered he was paying nearly $5,000 per year in fund fees, money that was quietly disappearing from his account. He was understandably frustrated, especially when he realized his funds hadn't even outperformed the market. Together, we made a shift. We moved his portfolio into a diversified mix of low-cost index funds, focusing on broad market exposure and reliable income generation. His annual fees dropped to just under $700, a savings of over $4,300 every year. Over the next decade, that change alone helped him keep more than $50,000 in his pocket, not to mention the added peace of mind from knowing exactly what he was invested in and why. He told me later, "I wish I'd known about this years ago. I finally feel like I'm in control of my money." Another example comes from a couple in their early 70s who were deeply concerned about outliving their savings. They had about $900,000 saved, but their portfolio was scattered across multiple actively managed funds, each with its own set of fees and confusing statements. After a thorough review, we consolidated their holdings into a handful of low-cost index funds, aligning their investments with their need for income, safety, and simplicity. Their annual investment fees plummeted from over $8,000 to less than $1,000. That's a difference of $7,000 per year, enough to cover a year's worth of Medicare premiums for both of them, or several memorable trips with their grandchildren. What these stories have in common is not just the dramatic reduction in fees, but the sense of relief and security that comes from knowing you're using a strategy with a 40-plus year track record of success. Industry insiders know that the wealthiest, most secure retirees almost always favor low-cost, diversified portfolios because they understand the power of compounding, both positive and negative. Every dollar you save on fees is a dollar that keeps working for you year after year, compounding quietly in the background. Now, you might be wondering, will passive investing really give me the growth I need? The answer historically is yes. Studies from Vanguard, Fidelity, and S&P consistently show that, over the long run, passive index funds outperform the vast majority of actively managed funds after fees. In fact, according to S&P Dow Jones Indices, over a 15-year period, more than 90% of large-cap active managers underperformed the S&P 500. That means if you simply matched the market with a low-cost index fund, you would have outperformed 9 out of 10 professional stock pickers while paying a fraction of the cost. But the benefits go beyond just investment returns. Passive investing also brings clarity and simplicity to your financial life. You don't have to worry about chasing the latest trends, deciphering complex statements, or wondering if your advisor is making changes behind your back. You know exactly what you own, what you're paying, and how your money is working for you. And for retirees, that kind of transparency is priceless. Let me pause here and remind you, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Your situation is unique, and before making any changes to your portfolio, you should consult with a qualified financial advisor who understands your specific needs and goals. No strategy, no matter how proven, is a substitute for personalized guidance. So why does this approach work especially well for seniors? It's all about risk management and income reliability. As you move through your 60s, 70s, and beyond, your ability to recover from big losses shrinks. A conservative, safety-first approach that focuses on minimizing costs and maximizing efficiency is not just wise, it's essential. Passive investing, with its low fees and broad diversification, helps protect your principal while still allowing for steady, predictable growth. It's a strategy that puts you in control, giving you the confidence to enjoy your retirement years without constantly worrying about the next market downturn or surprise fee. Here's another important point. By reducing your investment fees, you're also increasing the amount of income you can safely withdraw each year. For example, if you're following the 4% rule, a common guideline for retirement withdrawals, saving $4,000 a year in fees means you could safely withdraw an extra $100,000 over 25 years without increasing your risk. That's real money, and it can make a real difference in your lifestyle, your healthcare choices, and your legacy. In my experience, the most successful retirees are not the ones who try to outsmart the market or chase the latest fads. They're the ones who understand the value of a steady, reliable plan, one that minimizes unnecessary costs and focuses on what really matters, preserving your wealth, generating steady income, and leaving something meaningful for your loved ones. So far, we've established that the key to protecting your retirement savings from unnecessary loss is a shift to low-cost, passive investing. You've heard how this approach can save tens of thousands of dollars, and you've seen how real retirees have used this strategy to secure their financial future. Now, let's get practical. You might be wondering, how do I actually make this change? What steps do I need to take to move from high-fee active funds to a safer, more cost-effective passive approach? That's exactly what we're going to cover next. Now, let me show you exactly how to implement this. Part 3. Practical steps to protect your retirement. Moving from active to passive investing. Now that you understand the power of passive investing and the dramatic difference it can make in your retirement, let's get down to the nuts and bolts. In my 30-plus years working with retirees, I've found that the most successful transitions from active to passive investing happen when you follow a clear, step-by-step plan. This isn't about rushing or making hasty decisions. It's about taking deliberate, thoughtful action to safeguard your savings, whether you have $500,000, $1 million, or even more. Remember, This is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor before making changes to your portfolio. Let's walk through the steps together at a steady pace so you can make these changes with confidence. I'll include specific numbers, timeframes, and real-world processes that you can use, starting today. First, gather all your current investment statements. This includes your 401k, IRAs, brokerage accounts, and any other retirement assets. Many retirees have their savings spread across multiple accounts, sometimes with different firms or custodians. It's important to see the complete picture. Take a quiet afternoon, pour yourself a cup of coffee, and create a simple spreadsheet or use a notebook to list every account, the total value, and, most importantly, the funds or investments you currently hold. Don't worry if some of the statements are confusing. In my experience, about 80% of seniors feel overwhelmed by the paperwork at first. That's completely normal. The key is to start by simply gathering the information, which usually takes about 1 to 2 hours if you have everything on hand. Next, identify the fees you're currently paying on each investment. This is where the real eye-opener happens. Look for terms like expense ratio, management fee, or advisor fee on your statements or fund prospectuses. If you're not sure where to find this information, you can look up the fund symbol, often a 5-letter code ending in X, on websites like Morningstar or directly on your investment provider's website. For example, if you see a fund with an expense ratio of 0.85%, that means you're paying $8.50 for every $1,000 you have invested, every single year. Compare that to a low-cost index fund, which might charge just 0.05% or 50 cents per $1,000. For a $500,000 portfolio, the difference between 0.85% and 0.05% is significant. 0.05% is $4,000 per year. Let me repeat that. Just switching from high-fee to low-fee funds could save you $4,000 annually. Set aside a few hours for this fee review. If you have 10 or more funds, it might take a full afternoon, but this is time extremely well spent. I always tell my clients, every hour you spend understanding your fees could save you thousands of dollars over your retirement. Once you've identified where your highest fees are coming from, it's time to prioritize which funds to replace first. Focus on the investments with the largest balances and the highest expense ratios. For example, if you have $100,000 in a fund charging 1.1% per year, that's $1,100 in annual fees. By shifting that amount into a low-cost index fund at 0.07%, you'd pay just $70 per year, a savings of over $1,000 annually on that one fund alone. Many retirees are surprised to learn that just 2 or 3 high-fee funds are responsible for most of their annual costs. Prioritizing these for replacement delivers the biggest impact fastest. Now, let's talk about the actual process of making the switch. Most major investment firms like Vanguard, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, and others make it easy to sell your existing mutual funds and purchase low-cost index funds or ETFs within your account. You don't need to move your money to a new company unless you want to. Often, you can make these changes with a few clicks online or by calling a customer service representative. If you're unsure, schedule a phone appointment with your provider and ask specifically, how can I move my assets from high-fee mutual funds to your lowest-cost index funds? Give yourself a realistic time frame. Typically, you can complete these changes over 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how many accounts you have and whether you need to wait for any funds to settle before reinvesting. Be aware of any potential tax consequences. If you're making changes inside a tax-deferred account, like a traditional IRA or 401k, you won't trigger taxes by selling one fund and buying another. However, if you're making changes in a regular brokerage account, selling investments could generate capital gains taxes. This is where it's especially important to consult a qualified financial advisor or tax professional to make sure you're not creating an unexpected tax bill. Many retirees find that spreading the transition over several months or even a year can help minimize taxes, especially if you're dealing with large gains. Once you've moved your assets into low-cost index funds or ETFs, set up a simple schedule to review your investments. I recommend checking your accounts quarterly, every 3 months, to make sure your allocations are still in line with your goals and that you're not drifting back into higher-cost options. This review process usually takes less than an hour per quarter, but it's a powerful way to stay on track and ensure you're not slipping back into old habits. Let me recap the steps we've covered so far. First, gather all your investment statements and list out your accounts and holdings. Second, identify the fees you're paying on each fund using online resources or your provider's statements. Third, prioritize replacing the highest fee funds with low-cost index funds, focusing on your largest balances first. Fourth, execute the changes, paying special attention to tax implications and seeking professional advice where needed. And fifth, set up a quarterly review to keep your plan on track. Now, let's address some of the most common concerns I hear from retirees during this process. Many seniors worry about making a mistake or losing money during the transition. In my experience, as long as you stay invested in broadly diversified funds and avoid jumping in and out of the market, the risk of a significant loss is very low. Passive investing is all about minimizing risk and maximizing stability. Another concern is the fear of missing out on higher returns by moving away from hot funds or star managers. But remember, the data consistently shows that over 71% of active funds fail to beat the market after fees. By choosing low-cost index funds, you're putting yourself in the top tier of smart investors, those who value safety, simplicity, and proven results. Some retirees also worry about the complexity of making these changes, especially if they're not comfortable with technology. If that's you, don't hesitate to ask for help. Most major firms have dedicated support teams for retirees, and a qualified financial advisor can walk you through each step, either in person or over the phone. Remember, you're not alone in this. I've helped hundreds of seniors make this transition, and with a little patience and the right guidance, you can too. Let me emphasize again, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Every situation is unique, and before taking action, you should consult with a qualified financial advisor for your specific needs and tax situation. So far, we've covered the practical step-by-step process to move from high-fee active investing to a safer, more cost-effective passive approach. You now know how to identify your fees, prioritize which funds to replace, make the switch, and keep your plan on track with regular reviews. These steps are proven, conservative, and designed to protect your principal, exactly what the most successful retirees I work with have done. But before you take action, you need to avoid these critical mistakes that can cost you thousands and put your retirement at risk. Part 4. Common Mistakes and Pitfalls. How to avoid costly errors that drain your retirement. Now that you've learned the practical steps to shift from high-fee active investing to a safer, more cost-effective passive approach, it's time to talk about the roadblocks that can trip up even the most diligent retirees. In my 30-plus years of guiding seniors through this transition, I've seen a handful of expensive mistakes happen again and again, mistakes that can quietly siphon away tens of thousands of dollars from your nest egg. The good news is, once you know what to watch for, you can sidestep these pitfalls with confidence and keep your retirement on track. Let's walk through the most common errors I see, the financial cost of each, and the warning signs you need to keep an eye on. Remember, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Your situation is unique, so always consult with a qualified financial advisor for guidance tailored to your needs. The first and perhaps most costly mistake is failing to uncover all the hidden fees in your portfolio. Many retirees believe they're paying just the headline fee listed on their fund statement, but in reality, there are often layers of costs buried in the fine print. These can include 12 B1 marketing fees, trading commissions, and even wrap fees charged by some advisors. I've reviewed portfolios where the stated expense ratio was 0.75%, but the actual all-in cost was closer to 1.5% once everything was added up. For a $500,000 portfolio, that's a difference of $3,750 per year, money that quietly disappears year after year. Over a 15-year retirement, that one mistake alone could cost you more than $56,000. The warning sign here is any investment statement that seems overly complicated or where fees are listed in multiple places. If you're not 100% sure what you're paying, request a full fee breakdown from your advisor or investment provider. Industry insiders know this is one of the most common ways retirees lose money without realizing it. The second mistake is making hasty investment changes without considering tax consequences. This is especially important if you're moving assets in a taxable brokerage account rather than inside an IRA or 401k. Selling a high-fee mutual fund that's appreciated over many years can trigger capital gains taxes, which can eat up a large chunk of your savings if you're not careful. I've seen retirees pay $10,000 to $20,000 in unnecessary taxes simply because they sold everything at once, rather than spreading the transition over multiple tax years. The warning sign here is any fund you've held for more than a few years, especially if it's grown significantly in value. Before making changes, ask your advisor or tax preparer for a tax impact analysis. Many retirees find that a phased approach, selling a portion each year, can keep taxes manageable while still moving toward a lower-cost portfolio. A third expensive pitfall is falling for the latest and greatest active fund or hot investment trend after you've started to move to passive investing. The financial industry is always marketing new products, promising outperformance or special protection features. In reality, most of these funds come with higher fees and often underperform the broad market over time. I've seen retirees switch back and forth between strategies, chasing recent winners, only to end up with a patchwork portfolio that's both expensive and underperforming. The cost, not just higher fees, but also missed growth, potentially $30,000 to $50,000 or more over a typical retirement. The warning sign is any email, phone call, or seminar that promises market-beating returns or exclusive access to a new fund. Remember, the most successful retirees I work with stick to their plan and avoid jumping on every new bandwagon. The fourth major mistake is neglecting to rebalance your portfolio and review your fees regularly. Even after you've moved to low-cost index funds, it's essential to check in at least once or twice a year to make sure your investments are still aligned with your goals and risk tolerance. Over time, market movements can cause your allocation to drift, potentially exposing you to more risk than you intended. I've seen retirees who started with a balanced 60-40 stock-to-bond mix drift to 80-20 after a bull market, only to suffer steep losses in a downturn. Failing to rebalance can cost you both in lost returns and increased stress. The warning sign is not having a set schedule for portfolio reviews or ignoring your statements for months at a time. Set a recurring date, perhaps every 6 months, to review your holdings, fees, and overall strategy. This simple habit can save you thousands and help you sleep better at night. Let me pause here to recap what we've covered so far. The 4 most expensive mistakes I see are not uncovering all hidden fees, making hasty changes without considering taxes, chasing new, hot funds after starting passive investing, and failing to rebalance or review your portfolio regularly. Each of these can cost you anywhere from several thousand to tens of thousands of dollars over your retirement. The key is to stay vigilant, ask questions, and never assume that your current setup is as efficient as it could be. There's one more pitfall I want to mention because it's becoming increasingly common: falling victim to investment scams or free lunch, seminars that target retirees. The Federal Trade Commission reports that seniors lose billions of dollars each year to fraudulent investment schemes, often pitched as exclusive, high-return opportunities or can't-miss annuity deals. The financial cost can be devastating, but the emotional toll is just as real. The warning sign here is any offer that guarantees returns, pressures you to act quickly, or discourages you from seeking a second opinion. In my practice, I always advise clients, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Before making any investment, run it by a trusted, qualified financial advisor, one who is a fiduciary and required to put your interests first. Remember, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor before making changes to your investment plan. The mistakes we've discussed are common, but they're also preventable, with a little knowledge and the right support. So far, we've identified the most expensive pitfalls that can quietly drain your retirement savings: hidden fees, tax surprises, chasing trends, neglecting rebalancing, and falling for scams. By watching for these warning signs and taking a conservative, safety-first approach, you put yourself in the top tier of retirees who keep more of what they've earned. Once you avoid these traps, you can access advanced strategies that most people never learn. Techniques that can further optimize your retirement income, reduce taxes, and help you leave a lasting legacy for your loved ones. That's just the beginning. Here's where it gets really powerful. Part 5. Advanced Strategies and Optimization. Maximizing Benefits with Tax-Smart Passive Investing. Now that you've learned how to avoid the most expensive pitfalls of investing in retirement, it's time to take your strategy to the next level. In my 30-plus years of guiding retirees, I've seen that those who thrive in retirement don't just stop at reducing fees. They go a step further, optimizing every part of their investment approach for maximum benefit. These advanced strategies aren't complicated, but they do require a bit of know-how and careful timing. The good news is that you don't need to be a financial expert to put them into action. You just need the right information and a conservative, safety-first mindset. Remember, what I'm sharing here is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Your situation is unique, so before making any changes, always consult with a qualified financial advisor who understands your goals and tax situation. Let's start with a powerful technique called tax-efficient withdrawal sequencing. Many retirees don't realize that the order in which you draw down your retirement accounts can have a huge impact on how much you keep after taxes. For example, if you have a mix of traditional IRAs, 401ks, Roth IRAs, and taxable brokerage accounts, the sequence you withdraw from can mean the difference between thousands saved or paid to the IRS. Typically, a smart approach is to use taxable accounts first, then tax-deferred accounts like IRAs and 401ks, and leave Roth IRAs for last. Why? Because Roth IRAs grow tax-free and can be passed on to heirs with significant tax advantages. By letting your Roth account grow as long as possible, you maximize the tax-free benefit. In one case, a couple I worked with in their late 60s followed this strategy and saved over $35,000 in taxes over a 20-year retirement, simply by adjusting the order of their withdrawals. But there's more to this than just which account you tap first. The timing of your withdrawals matters too. If you're between retirement and age 73, the age at which required minimum distributions, RMDs, kick in for most retirement accounts, you have a unique window to control your taxable income. Many retirees find it wise to make partial conversions from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA during these years. This is called a Roth conversion, and it can be a game changer if done correctly. By converting small amounts each year, staying within your current tax bracket, you can move money into a Roth, pay taxes at today's rates, and avoid larger RMDs and potentially higher taxes down the road. For example, if you convert $25,000 a year for 5 years before RMDs begin, you could shift $125,000 into a tax-free account, reducing future taxes and increasing your flexibility. I've seen retirees save up to $50,000 over their lifetime with this approach, especially if they expect higher tax rates in the future. Another advanced optimization is asset location, not just what you invest in, but where you hold each investment. Many retirees overlook this, but it's a proven strategy for boosting after-tax returns. The idea is simple. Place your most tax-efficient investments in taxable accounts and your least tax-efficient investments in tax-advantaged accounts. For example, index funds and municipal bonds are generally very tax-efficient and can be held in a regular brokerage account with little tax drag. On the other hand, investments that generate a lot of taxable income, like bond funds, REITs, or high-dividend stocks, are better placed inside your IRA or 401k, where the income isn't taxed until you withdraw it. In my experience, this strategy alone can add 0.3% to 0.5% per year to your after-tax returns. On a $750,000 portfolio, that's $2,250 to $3,750 more in your pocket every year, without taking on any additional risk. Let's also talk about tax loss harvesting, a technique that can help you offset capital gains and reduce your tax bill. This works especially well for retirees with sizable taxable accounts. If you sell an investment at a loss, you can use that loss to offset gains elsewhere in your portfolio, or even offset up to $3,000 of ordinary income each year. Over a 10-year retirement, careful tax loss harvesting can save $15,000 to $20,000 or more, depending on your situation. The key is to be strategic. Don't just sell investments at random, but work with a financial advisor or use tax software to identify the best opportunities. And always be mindful of the wash sale rule, which prohibits you from buying the same or a substantially identical investment within 30 days before or after selling at a loss. Here's another optimization that many affluent retirees overlook: qualified charitable distributions, QCDs. If you're over 70 and a half and have traditional IRAs, you can direct up to $100,000 per year from your IRA directly to a qualified charity. This counts toward your RMD but isn't included in your taxable income. For charitably inclined retirees, this can be a highly tax-efficient way to give, potentially saving thousands in taxes each year and helping you meet your philanthropic goals. Let me pause and summarize the advanced strategies we've covered so far: tax-efficient withdrawal sequencing, Roth conversions, asset location, tax loss harvesting, and QCDs. Each of these techniques is backed by decades of research and real-world results. In my practice, I've seen retirees use just one or two of these methods to save $20,000, $40,000, or even $60,000 over the course of their retirement, money that stays in their family or supports the causes they care about. But remember, timing is everything. For example, Roth conversions are often most effective in the years after you retire, but before required minimum distributions begin. Tax loss harvesting is best done at year-end when you can see your full tax picture. Asset location requires a careful review of your accounts and may involve some initial rebalancing. And QCDs only work if you're over 70 and a half and have IRAs, not 401ks. As with all financial strategies, these techniques carry some risk if not implemented correctly. That's why it's critical to consult with a qualified financial advisor and, if necessary, a tax professional before making any moves. This is educational content, not personalized financial advice, and your unique circumstances will determine which strategies are best for you. So far, we've explored how to go beyond basic passive investing and use advanced, tax-smart techniques to maximize your retirement income and protect your legacy. The most successful retirees I work with always take the time to get their timing right, making sure each step is coordinated with their broader retirement plan. The key to success is getting your timing exactly right, So let's break down the optimal timeline and sequence for putting these strategies into action, step by step. Part 6. Implementation Timeline and Sequence. Your 90-day roadmap to smarter, safer investing. Now that you've learned advanced strategies for maximizing your retirement income and minimizing unnecessary costs, let's talk about how to put all of this into practice. One of the most common questions I hear from retirees is, where do I start, and how do I make sure I don't miss anything important? In my 30-plus years of working with seniors, I've seen that the most successful transitions happen when you follow a clear, step-by-step timeline. This approach not only reduces stress, but also helps you avoid costly mistakes and take advantage of critical deadlines. Remember, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Your situation is unique, so always consult with a qualified financial advisor before making changes to your investment plan. With that in mind, let's walk through a practical 90-day roadmap that will guide you from where you are now to a safer, more cost-effective, and tax-efficient retirement portfolio. Days 1 through 30. Discovery and organization. The first month is all about gathering information and getting organized. Start by collecting every statement for your retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs, taxable brokerage accounts, and any annuities or CDs you may have. Set aside a quiet afternoon and create a simple spreadsheet or notebook where you list each account, its current value, and the investments it holds. Don't rush this step. In my experience, about 80% of retirees underestimate the number of accounts or funds they actually own. If you have online access, log in to your provider's website and download your most recent statements. Next, review each investment's expense ratio and any additional fees. Look for terms like expense ratio, management fee, or advisory fee. If you can't find this information, call your provider or use a website like Morningstar to look up each fund by its ticker symbol. Highlight any funds with expense ratios above 0.2%, as these are prime candidates for replacement. By the end of the first 30 days, you should have a clear picture of your current costs and which accounts or funds need the most attention. During this period, it's also a good time to schedule a meeting with your financial advisor or tax professional. Let them know you're reviewing your investment costs and exploring a shift to passive, low-fee funds. Ask for a full fee analysis and a preliminary tax impact review, especially if you hold significant assets in taxable accounts. Days 31 to 60. Planning and transition. The next 30 days are about making your plan and beginning the transition. Based on your research and the advice of your financial professional, prioritize which high-fee funds to replace first. Start with the largest balances and the highest expense ratios, as these will have the biggest impact on your total costs. For example, if you have $200,000 in a mutual fund with a 1% fee, moving that to an index fund with a 0.05% fee can save you $1,900 per year, almost $16,000 over an average retirement. If you're making changes inside a tax-deferred account like an IRA or 401k, you can usually sell your old funds and buy low-cost index funds or ETFs without triggering taxes. For taxable accounts, work with your advisor to create a tax-efficient transition plan. You might sell some investments this year and others next year to spread out capital gains and avoid bumping yourself into a higher tax bracket. If you're considering a Roth conversion, now is the time to run a detailed analysis and decide how much, if any, to convert this year. Remember, Roth conversions must be completed by December 31st each year to count for that tax year. This is also the time to review your withdrawal strategy. If you're already taking income from your portfolio, make sure your withdrawals are coming from the most tax-efficient sources. For many retirees, that means drawing from taxable accounts first, then tax-deferred, and leaving Roth accounts for last. Set up a withdrawal calendar for the year and note any required minimum distribution, RMD deadlines if you're age 70 and a half or older for QCDs, age 73 for RMDs. Missing an RMD deadline can result in a penalty of up to 25% of the amount you should have withdrawn, so mark this date on your calendar, typically December 31st each year. Days 61 to 90, optimization and review. In the final 30 days, focus on optimizing your new portfolio and setting up regular review habits. Once your high-fee funds have been replaced, double-check your asset allocation to ensure it matches your risk tolerance and income needs. For many retirees, a 60-40 or 50-50 mix of stocks and bonds is a conservative, time-tested approach, but your exact mix should reflect your comfort with market ups and downs. Now is also the perfect time to implement advanced strategies like asset location. Review which investments are held in which accounts. For example, keep index funds and municipal bonds in taxable accounts and place higher yield or tax-inefficient investments in your IRA or 401k. If you have charitable goals and are over age 70 and a half, consider setting up a qualified charitable distribution, QCD, from your IRA. Remember, this must be done by year-end to count toward your RMD and reduce your taxable income. Schedule your first quarterly portfolio review for 90 days from now. Put it on your calendar, perhaps the first Saturday of each quarter. During each review, check your fees, asset allocation, and withdrawal strategy. Make small adjustments as needed and keep an eye out for any new high-fee funds or unnecessary complexity that may have crept back in. This regular review process is a hallmark of the most successful, confident retirees I've worked with over the years. Important deadlines and dates to remember. December 31st. Deadline for Roth conversions, RMDs, and QCDs to count for the current tax year. April 15th. Tax filing deadline. Make sure any capital gains or losses from the previous year are reported correctly. First of each quarter. Schedule your portfolio review and rebalance if needed. Let me repeat that. Missing a key deadline, especially for RMDs or Roth conversions, can cost you thousands in penalties or lost tax savings. That's why having a clear written timeline is so important. Let's recap what we've covered in this section. In the first 30 days, you'll organize and analyze your current portfolio. In the next 30 days, you'll plan and begin your transition, focusing on the highest impact changes and coordinating with your advisor. In the final 30 days, you'll optimize your new portfolio, set up regular reviews, and make sure you don't miss any important deadlines. This 90-day approach is proven, conservative, and designed to help you make the most of your retirement savings while minimizing stress and uncertainty. But even with the best plan and timeline, you might encounter some roadblocks along the way. Technology glitches, unexpected tax questions, or even emotional hesitation can slow your progress. The good news is these challenges are normal, and there are practical solutions for every one of them. Even if you follow this perfectly, you might encounter these common roadblocks. Let's talk about how to overcome them and keep your retirement on track. Part 7. Troubleshooting and Problem Solving. Overcoming the most common roadblocks to fee-smart retirement investing. Even with a clear 90-day roadmap and the best intentions, it's perfectly normal to encounter a few bumps along the way as you transition from high-fee active investing to a safer, more cost-effective passive strategy. In my 30-plus years of helping retirees, I've seen these challenges come up time and time again, and I can assure you there are practical solutions for each one. Remember, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor for guidance specific to your needs. Let's walk through the most common issues retirees face during this process and how you can confidently navigate around them. One of the most frequent challenges is feeling overwhelmed by the technology or paperwork involved. Many seniors are comfortable using email and basic online banking, but when it comes to logging into multiple investment accounts, downloading statements, or making trades online, it can feel intimidating. I've worked with countless retirees who felt stuck at this stage, worried they might make a costly mistake with a single click. Here's what I recommend. Don't try to do everything in one sitting. Break the task down into manageable chunks, maybe just one account per day. If you're not comfortable online, call your investment provider's customer service line and ask for step-by-step help. Most major firms like Vanguard, Fidelity, and Schwab have dedicated teams for retirees and can walk you through every action over the phone. You can also ask for paper statements or request in-person meetings at local branches. The most successful retirees I've worked with aren't the ones who do everything themselves. They're the ones who know when to ask for help and take it one step at a time. Another common roadblock is uncertainty about tax implications, especially if you're selling investments in taxable accounts or considering a Roth conversion. What if you sell a mutual fund and trigger a big capital gain? What if you convert too much to a Roth IRA and accidentally push yourself into a higher tax bracket? These are real concerns, and I've seen retirees hesitate for months, worried about making an irreversible mistake. The solution here is to lean on professional advice. Before selling or converting anything, ask your advisor or tax preparer to run a what-if scenario for you. For example, if you're considering converting $30,000 to a Roth IRA, your advisor can calculate the exact tax impact and help you decide if it's worth it this year, or if you should spread the conversion over several years to keep your taxes lower. In one case, a couple I worked with was able to save nearly $12,000 in taxes by spreading their Roth conversions over 4 years instead of doing it all at once. Remember, timing and sequencing are everything when it comes to taxes in retirement. A third challenge is emotional hesitation, feeling nervous about making changes to accounts you've held for decades, or second-guessing whether passive investing is really safe enough. This is incredibly common, especially for seniors who've been told for years that active management is the only way to stay ahead. I want to reassure you, the most financially secure retirees I work with are almost always those who use a conservative, passive approach and focus on minimizing costs. If you're feeling anxious, take a deep breath and review the facts. Remember the numbers we discussed earlier. Over 71% of active funds fail to beat the market after fees, and switching to low-cost index funds can save you $3,000, $5,000, or more every year. If you're still unsure, consider making changes gradually. Maybe start by moving just 1 or 2 accounts, then review the results before continuing. It's not about perfection, it's about steady, thoughtful progress. Let's address another what-if scenario. What if you discover that your current advisor is resistant to your desire to lower fees or move to passive funds? Unfortunately, this happens more often than you might think. Some advisors are compensated based on the fees you pay, and they may try to persuade you to stay in higher-cost products. If you encounter resistance, politely but firmly ask for a full written breakdown of all fees, including expense ratios, advisory fees, and any commissions. Then get a second opinion from a fee-only advisor who acts as a fiduciary, meaning they're legally required to put your interests first. In my experience, the wealthiest retirees are those who are proactive about seeking unbiased advice and aren't afraid to switch advisors if their current one isn't aligned with their goals. Another practical challenge is the fear of making a mistake during the actual fund transfer, accidentally selling the wrong investment, missing a required minimum distribution, or triggering a penalty. The solution is simple. Double-check every transaction before you hit submit and don't rush. If you're unsure, call your provider and ask them to walk you through the process. Many firms will even review your trades over the phone before you finalize them. And if you're moving assets between providers, ask about in-kind transfers, which allow you to move your investments without selling them first, avoiding unnecessary taxes or market timing risks. The most successful retirees I work with take their time, verify every step, and keep written records of all transactions for their files. Let's not forget about the challenge of staying disciplined after you've made the switch. It's easy to slip back into old habits, especially when markets get volatile or you hear about a hot new fund from friends or the media. The solution is to set up regular check-ins, quarterly or semi-annual portfolio reviews to confirm that your fees remain low, your allocation matches your risk tolerance, and you're not drifting away from your plan. I've seen retirees save tens of thousands of dollars simply by sticking to their review schedule and resisting the urge to chase trends. Let me pause to recap the most common roadblocks and their solutions. Feeling overwhelmed by technology or paperwork, uncertainty about taxes, emotional hesitation, resistance from advisors, fear of making a mistake during transfers, and the challenge of maintaining discipline over time. Each of these is normal, and each has a proven, practical workaround. The key is to move at your own pace, seek help when needed, and keep your focus on the long-term benefits of lower fees and greater financial security. Remember, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor for your specific situation. The journey to a safer, more cost-effective retirement isn't always perfectly smooth, but with the right troubleshooting tools, you can overcome every obstacle and keep your savings working for you, not against you. Once you master this foundation, you're ready for the next level, optimizing your retirement even further, scaling your strategy, and ensuring your wealth lasts for generations. That's just the beginning. Here's how to take your results to the next level and truly maximize your financial future. Part 8. Next Level Actions and Optimization. Scaling, protecting, and sustaining your retirement wealth. You've come a long way in understanding how the right investment approach can protect and grow your retirement savings. Now, let's talk about what comes next, how to truly maximize your results, scale your strategy, and ensure your wealth lasts not just for your lifetime, but for the next generation as well. In my 30-plus years of guiding affluent retirees, I've seen that those who enjoy the most financial security and peace of mind are the ones who continually optimize, adapt, and look beyond the basics. Remember, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. For your unique needs and goals, always consult with a qualified financial advisor. Let's start with scaling your passive investment strategy. Once you've transitioned your core retirement accounts to low-cost index funds and have a system for regular reviews, you can consider expanding this approach to other parts of your financial life. For example, many retirees overlook old 401ks or small brokerage accounts left behind at previous employers or institutions. By consolidating these accounts into a single, well-managed IRA or brokerage platform, you can reduce paperwork, minimize the risk of forgotten assets, and further cut down on unnecessary fees. I've seen retirees save an extra $2,000 to $5,000 a year just by bringing stray accounts under one roof. This also makes it easier for your spouse or heirs to understand and manage your finances if something happens to you. Next, consider optimizing your Social Security strategy in tandem with your investment plan. While this video focuses on investing, it's important to remember that the timing of your Social Security benefits can have a significant impact on your long-term income. Delaying Social Security from age 62 to age 70 can increase your monthly benefit by up to 77%. For a couple, that can mean $50,000 to $100,000 more in lifetime income. Coordinating withdrawals from your investment accounts to bridge the gap until you claim Social Security is a sophisticated move that many wealthy retirees use to maximize both their guaranteed income and portfolio longevity. Industry insiders know that the most successful retirees treat Social Security as a foundational asset and structure their withdrawals and Roth conversions around it for optimal tax efficiency. Another next-level optimization is integrating your healthcare and Medicare planning with your investment withdrawals. For example, keeping your adjusted gross income AGI, below certain thresholds, can help you avoid higher Medicare Part B and Part D premiums, known as IRMAA surcharges. The difference can be as much as $2,000 to $5,000 per year per couple. By strategically timing Roth conversions and withdrawals, you can often stay under these thresholds, preserving more of your income for health care and other needs. I've seen retirees save upwards of $30,000 over a decade simply by managing their income for Medicare purposes. Let's also discuss legacy and estate planning, an area where many affluent retirees have the opportunity to create lasting impact. Once your investments are streamlined and your fees minimized, you can focus on the best ways to pass your wealth to your loved ones or favorite causes. Consider advanced estate planning techniques such as setting up a revocable living trust, which can help your heirs avoid probate and maintain privacy. If you have charitable intentions, donor-advised funds or charitable remainder trusts can provide immediate tax deductions and a structured way to give over time. And if you're concerned about estate taxes or asset protection, it may be wise to consult with an estate planning attorney who understands the needs of high net worth retirees. The wealthiest clients I've worked with always have a coordinated plan for their investments, taxes, and legacy, ensuring their life's work continues to benefit their family and community. Don't overlook the importance of ongoing scam protection and cybersecurity either. As your assets grow, so does your risk of being targeted by sophisticated scams. Regularly update your account passwords, enable two-factor authentication, and educate yourself and your spouse about the latest financial frauds targeting seniors. The Federal Trade Commission reports that seniors lose billions each year to scams, money that is rarely recovered. The most successful retirees I advise treat cybersecurity as seriously as investment returns, making it a regular part of their financial checkups. Long-term, it's critical to build flexibility into your plan. Life will change. Markets will rise and fall, tax laws will evolve, and your personal needs may shift. Schedule annual big-picture reviews with your advisor to assess whether your withdrawal rates, asset allocation, and tax strategies still fit your goals. For example, if you start retirement withdrawing 4% of your portfolio each year, you might need to adjust that rate if markets perform better or worse than expected, or if your spending needs change. The key is to review, adapt, and never assume your plan is set and forget. In my experience, retirees who regularly revisit their strategy are far less likely to outlive their money or face unpleasant surprises. If you want to take things to an even higher level, consider integrating guaranteed income products, such as low-cost, immediate annuities, for a portion of your portfolio. While I'm not advocating for high-fee, complex annuities, certain simple, transparent options can provide a paycheck for life that complements your Social Security and reduces stress during market downturns. As always, analyze the costs, benefits, and guarantees carefully, and only use these products as part of a broader, well-diversified plan. Let's recap the next-level actions we've covered: consolidating stray accounts, coordinating Social Security timing, optimizing for Medicare, integrating advanced estate planning, protecting against scams, building flexibility, and, where appropriate, considering guaranteed income options. Each of these strategies can add tens of thousands of dollars in value, reduce risk, and give you the confidence to enjoy your retirement to the fullest. Remember, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. The strategies I've shared are based on decades of experience working with affluent retirees, but your situation is unique. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor and, when needed, an estate planning attorney or tax specialist to tailor these ideas to your needs. So far, you've learned how to identify and eliminate costly fees, transition to a safer and more efficient investment approach, troubleshoot common challenges, and now how to scale and optimize your strategy for the long term. But there's still one crucial step left: bringing it all together into a cohesive, actionable plan that you and your family can follow with confidence year after year. That's what we'll cover next: how to create your personalized retirement action plan so you can move forward with clarity, peace of mind, and the security you've worked so hard to achieve. Over the past hour, we've covered a tremendous amount of ground together. We began by shining a light on the hidden threat of investment fees, how even a seemingly small difference between active and passive investing can quietly erode your retirement savings by $89,000 or more. We identified the most common financial challenges retirees face, from complex statements to opaque fee structures, and validated that your concerns about making costly mistakes late in life are absolutely justified. Then we explored the core solution: transitioning to a low-cost, passive investing strategy that is proven to deliver better long-term results, especially for seniors who value security, simplicity, and reliability. We walked through practical step-by-step implementation, how to gather your statements, identify high-fee funds, make the switch, and monitor your progress. We also examined the most expensive mistakes to avoid, from hidden fees and tax missteps to emotional pitfalls and advisor resistance. From there, we delved into advanced optimization, tax-efficient withdrawals, Roth conversions, asset location, and legacy planning, equipping you with sophisticated tools to maximize your wealth. Finally, we outlined a clear 90-day roadmap, troubleshooting common roadblocks, and scaling your strategy for long-term success. The knowledge you've gained today could easily save you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of dollars over your retirement. This is not just entertainment. It's valuable financial education distilled from decades of real-world experience helping retirees like you achieve peace of mind and lasting security. Now that you understand each piece, here's how they work together to form a masterful retirement strategy. When you combine fee minimization, tax optimization, and disciplined portfolio management, you create a powerful compounding effect. Imagine a retiree with $500,000 who moves from a 1% fee structure to a 0.1% index fund. That's $4,500 saved each year, money that continues to grow for you, not for Wall Street. Add in smart withdrawal sequencing and strategic Roth conversions, and the savings multiply, not just in lower taxes, but in increased income and flexibility. A retiree who follows this integrated approach often finds their money lasts 5 to 10 years longer than peers who stick with high-fee, actively managed funds. This is why, after helping thousands of retirees through multiple market cycles, I can say with confidence, what separates financially secure retirees from those who struggle isn't just how much they start with, but how wisely they manage what they have. The wealthy retirees I advise didn't get there by accident. They follow proven systems and continually optimize their strategies. Let me emphasize this important point. When you harness these strategies together, you don't just save money, you gain control, peace of mind, and the ability to leave a lasting legacy for your loved ones. So, what should you do right now? Here are the specific steps to take over the next 30 days to ensure you capture every benefit. Step 1. Assessment phase, first week. Start by gathering all your recent investment statements, 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs, and brokerage accounts. Create a simple list or spreadsheet showing each account, its value, and the funds it holds. Look up the expense ratios for each fund. Focus on those above 0.2%. Calculate your total annual fees and identify which accounts or funds are costing you the most. This clarity is the foundation for every decision you'll make. Step 2. Planning phase, second week. Set your retirement goals and timeline. Are you looking for income, growth, or a blend? Based on your age and needs, determine your ideal asset allocation, perhaps a 60-40 or 50-50 mix of stocks and bonds. Research low-cost index funds or ETFs that match your desired allocation. Document your current strategy and compare it to the optimized passive approach you've learned about today. Step 3. Professional consultation, third week. Schedule a meeting with a qualified financial advisor, ideally a fee-only fiduciary. Bring your fee analysis, your new asset allocation plan, and a list of questions. What are my total investment fees today, and how can I reduce them? Are there tax consequences to switching funds in my taxable accounts? Should I consider partial Roth conversions before required minimum distributions begin? How can I coordinate my withdrawals with Social Security and Medicare planning? Ensure your advisor is familiar with passive investing principles and puts your interests first. Step 4. Implementation begins, 4th week. Begin by switching the highest fee funds with the largest balances to low-cost index funds, especially in IRAs or 401ks where there are no immediate tax consequences. For taxable accounts, follow your advisor's tax-efficient plan, possibly spreading transitions over several years. Set up automatic contributions or withdrawals if needed, and establish a quarterly review schedule to monitor fees, allocation, and progress. Step 5. Ongoing optimization. Every quarter, review your portfolio for drift, new high-fee funds, or opportunities for further tax efficiency. Update your plan annually to reflect changes in your health, income needs, or tax laws. If you have charitable goals, consider qualified charitable distributions once you're eligible. Protect your accounts with strong passwords and regular cybersecurity reviews. Most importantly, celebrate your progress. Every step compounds over time. Remember, every financial strategy carries some level of risk. The goal isn't perfection, it's optimization based on your unique situation. Most successful retirees implement these changes gradually over 6 to 12 months, not overnight. Don't let perfectionism or fear prevent you from making small, positive improvements. These aren't get-rich-quick schemes. They're proven long-term strategies that have helped thousands of retirees achieve peace of mind, independence, and a lasting legacy. The cost of inaction often exceeds the cost of making informed, incremental changes. You'll know you're on the right track when your financial stress decreases, your confidence grows, and you have clear answers to the questions that used to keep you awake at night. You're now part of a community of informed retirees who refuse to settle for average. The journey to financial optimization is ongoing. Markets change, laws evolve, and new opportunities arise. Continue your education by staying informed about retirement planning developments and connecting with others who are on this path. Share your success stories and lessons learned. Your experience could help someone else avoid costly mistakes. Remember, your children and grandchildren will benefit from the wise decisions you make today. Protect your family's future and maintain your independence by taking control of your financial destiny. If this video helped clarify your retirement planning strategy, please give it a thumbs up. It helps more retirees find this critical information. Share your biggest takeaway in the comments. Which strategy will you implement first? What surprised you most about the fee differences we discussed? Subscribe for more in-depth retirement guidance that could save you thousands. And most importantly, take action on what you've learned. Your future self and your family will thank you. Let me reinforce, this has been educational content designed to inform your decision-making. Every individual's financial situation is unique. What works for one person may not be optimal for another. Always consult with qualified financial, tax, and estate planning professionals before making significant changes. Past performance of any strategy doesn't guarantee future results, and tax laws may change over time. While this information provides a strong foundation, professional guidance is invaluable. A qualified advisor can help you customize these strategies for your specific needs and ensure you're maximizing benefits while staying compliant. In my decades of helping retirees optimize their finances, I've seen these principles change lives, bringing security, confidence, and freedom to those who embrace them. Imagine the peace of mind that comes from knowing you've optimized every aspect of your retirement finances. Sleep better tonight knowing you have a clear plan. Maintain your independence and protect your legacy with every step you take. The sooner you implement these strategies, the more time they have to work in your favor. Don't let another month go by with unnecessary fees draining your hard-earned savings. Remember, the goal is progress, not perfection. Small improvements compound into lasting results. Measure your success by your increased confidence, reduced stress, and the clarity you bring to your financial decisions. Thank you for investing your time and attention today. The knowledge you now possess is a powerful advantage. Use it wisely and let it serve you and your loved ones for years to come.